Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. And that's this. UConn had two players in this U19 World Cup event. Neither played for Team USA. They had two players that are going there next year. Reibe, who, he's a little bit of an interesting story because he's from Germany. He played on the German national team that finished with the silver medal, but he actually played basketball in the U.S. in high school this past year. He's committed to UConn. Also, Jacob Furphy played for the Australian team. And, I'll say this about UConn is that I was watching this event, and I think that, we talk so much about UConn this offseason, and we're going to talk about them here right now, but I just bring it up because I think basically the assumption with these two, I'll just be transparent and we'll work our way backwards, is that I think Reibe, we all just thought, okay, going to be the backup center to Terrace Reed. Whatever you get from him, that's great. Almost like a Donovan Clingan in his freshman year behind Adama Sanogo, but the season is going to be made or broken by him. And then I'll be honest, UConn fans might tell you different. UConn fans might disagree. I had zero expectation for Jacob Furphy. 8th, 9th, 10th man, probably not going to play that much. He's a dude. He's whatever. He's who, both of those guys were awesome in this tournament. And if they were as good as they looked playing for this international team, all of a sudden, UConn, to me, their ceiling goes to an entirely different level in 2025, 2026. So let's go ahead and dive into both of these guys. First of all, Reibe, as I said, 7-foot center, played for Germany's national team. Interesting player because I know I just said it, but I'll try not to repeat myself too much here. But, he played ball in the U.S. He was a McDonald's All-American. So I'm not going to sit here and lie and be like, oh, this is the biggest surprise that has ever happened in the history of basketball, okay? But he was really good for Team USA, or Team Germany, excuse me. Averaged 15.5 points, 5 rebounds, 59% or so shooting, was really good around the rim, kind of quick feet, soft touch, all the things that you want to see from a 7-foot center. And again, I know he played in the U.S. and was a McDonald's All-American, but I thought he asserted himself well. I thought he played with confidence. I thought he got better as the tournament went on. And I just thought he was frankly better than I was expecting. Now, the one that was definitely better than I was expecting was Furphy, okay? So he was, UConn fans, correct me, I believe he was the first player that actually committed in the class of 2025. Braylon Mullins, Reibe, a couple others commit afterward. But he was just a guy, he's from Australia, you don't really know what to expect. Well, he comes into this tournament, and he starts off with a bang. 24 points against Team USA in the opener of the tournament, 24 against the Dominican Republic later, 16.5 points in the tournament, 4 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 2 steals. He's just kind of a do-it-all, jack-of-all-trades guard that kind of did a little bit of everything. He was a scorer when he had to be. He was a playmaker when he had to be. Great defensive player. And I just didn't think he was that good, and I did not have expectations for him going into this tournament or for UConn next year. And so you flash forward. You add those two to what we already know that UConn has. I think it's going to be a very fun season for Dan Hurley and the Huskies ahead. And transparently, I just think they're going to be flat out better than I think a lot of people are expecting or a lot of people realize. Because the bottom line is, and we've talked about UConn pretty much on and off since what? Early April when their season ends against Florida in the round of 32. Season didn't go to plan, but we talked about all the retention, why it was important, and why the UConn Huskies this offseason were going to be defined by retention going into the 2025-2026 season. Well, they get Solo Ball back. All Big East second team, 14 points per game, 41% three-point shooting. He was one of the most improved players in college basketball this year. I think he has like first-team All-American type talent if it comes together in the offseason. I think we've talked about this before, maybe in the offseason grades, but, UConn does a great job with social media. He seems to have taken on a vocal leadership kind of role. He's kind of been a guy who's been a leader by example. Now it seems like he knows this is my third year in college basketball. I'm the man. It's my moment. And I think he is ready for a breakout year. Alex Karaban's coming back. Listen, we know it was a disappointing year for Alex Karaban. Not all of it was his fault. Got the concussion early. I think it took him longer to recover than I think a lot of people maybe realize kind of publicly. I don't think it was talked about as much. The role kind of changed throughout the year. Liam McNeely's playing well early. He gets hurt. He's out for a month. Karaban's got to be the guy. Then he's not the guy. They don't really have that true point guard. So I think now that the roles are more defined, I think he'll be improved. Terrace Reed, we've talked about it again, a dude that basically was a dominant low post player the final probably 2-3 weeks of the season. Keep going back to that 24-point, 18 rebound, 6 block performance against Providence late in the year. So those are your core three. Jalen Stewart, I think, is due for a breakout year. Jaden Ross comes back. I think he is due to be much improved. And then again, it was defined mostly by those returnees as well as those guys that you added early in the offseason. Silas Demery Jr. comes in from Georgia. He's that big point guard that UConn was desperately lacking last year. He's going to step into that role. I think he's going to be great. Was maybe Georgia's second best player last year on a tournament team alongside Asa Newell, who of course was a first round pick this year. Well, he's going to be around much more talent at UConn. I think his skills are going to be accentuated. Malachi Smith, who I know is out with injury right now, is probably going to play that sixth man role. Braylon Mullins, Dan Hurley has already said, I expect him to be a one and done. And so I bring up all those names: Ball, Karaban, Stewart, Ross, Terrace Reed, and then Braylon Mullins, Silas Demery, and Malachi Smith, because that was supposed to be the core. And kind of anything after that you got was just icing on the cake. Again, maybe Reibe you expect a little bit from, because he needs to be that backup 5-man, but I don't think anybody went into this tournament being like, he's going to be a 15-point per game scorer in this tournament and play as well as he did. And then again, Furphy. We're talking about Furphy as one of the better players in this tournament. And I think as the tournament went on, he kind of wore down. He had to play a bigger role for Team Australia, But he's supposed to be like your 9th or 10th man that you're just not really expecting anything from. And that dude is dominant for Team USA. And so I just bring it up because you add those two. You get from them what you got in this tournament. It's a wrap. I mean, that all of a sudden makes UConn that much deeper, that much more talented, that much less of a drop-off when they go to the bench. It is a total game changer. And so it's funny because I tried to consider everything when doing my way too early top 25. I had UConn at number 7, and I basically had him at number 7 under the assumption that, that core 7 or 8 guys that I said, with Reibe being the backup 5 and Furphy just not even being a factor. Well, now if Furphy's giving you 10, 12, 15 minutes and he can really contribute, which it looks like he's going to be able to do, total game changer. If Reibe can step in and there's no miss off of the, Terrace Reed when he comes out of the game, total game changer for UConn. So I'll tell you what, I think of every team in this event, you could argue Louisville's a huge winner with, Louisville is a huge winner with Mikal Brown Jr. DeBonsa looked as good as advertised. I don't think anybody was a bigger winner than UConn, who all of a sudden now just has 2 dudes that you kind of weren't really expecting that much from, who all of a sudden have a chance to be really special this year. And then, the way college hoops goes, you never know, but could be there for 2-3 years and be real impact players down the road.